Before I ask you my question, I want you to sit with me for a moment. Just for a moment. The fog is heavy tonight. The kind that swallows streetlights whole and turns the world into something soft and indistinct, like a memory you can't quite hold. The rice fields at the edge of town have gone silver. The last bus passed an hour ago. The road is empty except for the sound of rain against the asphalt, and somewhere in the dark between one lamppost and the next, I am standing very still, waiting. They have told you about me. The stories travel faster than fog, faster than nightfall, faster than the sound of scissors opening in the dark. They have given you rules. Say she is beautiful. She marks you. Say she is not. She marks you worse. Throw candy. Run. Cross the street. Don't look directly at her face. Rules. As if I am a fire drill. As if I am something to be survived with the right procedure. But here is what no one has told you. I remember everything. Every face that has looked into mine over these 30 years. Every voice that has trembled and every voice that has laughed and every pair of eyes that has gone flat and cold and empty. The worst ones, the ones that said without saying, "You are not worth feeling anything about." I remember all of them. And tonight, before the boy with the red umbrella turns down this road, I want you to understand who I was before I became what I am. My name was Haruka, and I have a story to tell you. I was born in Mizuhara in 1961, a small town, the kind Japan used to be full of before the cities swallowed everything. Narrow streets of old stone, a river you could hear from anywhere in town if you were quiet enough to listen, a torii gate at the eastern edge where the road met the mountain, painted the deep orange of persimmons in autumn. I loved the silence of this place. That is the first thing you should know about me. I was a woman who loved silence, not because I had nothing to say, but because I had learned, very early, that silence was its own kind of language. That the space between words was often more honest than the words themselves. My mother said my voice was like water, calming. She said it like it was a compliment. I wonder, sometimes, if she meant it as a warning. I was not the kind of girl who drew attention. I read on the Ingawa while other children played in the yard. I walked to school alone, taking the long way past the river, not out of loneliness, but out of preference. For the sound of water over stones, for the way morning light fractured through the cedar trees, for the particular quality of a world that has not yet required anything of you. I was happy, I think, in the small, unexamined way of people who have not yet learned that happiness is something that can be taken. I was 23 when I met him. I will not give him a name. He does not deserve one, in this telling. He was the kind of man who filled every room he entered, not with warmth, but with a kind of gravitational pull, the way a dark mass bends light toward itself. Older, charming in the particular way of men who have practiced charm as a tool. He looked at me like I was something rare. I had never been looked at like that before. That was all it took. The early years, I told myself they were good. I told myself the things that women in those years were given words to tell themselves. That his jealousy was love, that his control was care, that if I could be good enough, quiet enough, small enough, a woman who loved silence could surely become small enough. Everything would settle. I made myself smaller, and smaller, and still, it was never small enough that I will not tell you what he did to me in the kitchen that autumn night. Not because the memory is unclear. The dead remember with a precision the living are spared, but because what he did is not the wound I want you to understand. The wound I want you to understand came after. I ran, barefoot, into the rain, into streets I had walked my entire life, past every shop front and shrine and stone wall that had witnessed my whole ordinary existence. The cold came up through the road into my feet and traveled through my body like something electrical, and I ran past the fish market, past the post office, past the little shrine where I used to press my palms together and ask for things I cannot remember now, ordinary things, the small daily wishes of a woman who believed the world was essentially negotiable. I ran until I reached the mountain road, the place where the town ends and the forest begins. And then I stopped, because I had run as far as the world allowed. And the world on the other side was only darkness and cedar trees and the sound of rain and leaves. And I had no money, no coat, no telephone, nowhere to go. A woman at the absolute limit of her life, standing at the boundary between the known and the unknown, breathing hard, understanding for the first time with her whole body what she had understood for years in the back of her mind. There was no escape, not the kind she had imagined. I turned around. I was already composing the story I would tell myself, already reconstructing the architecture of endurance. This is what women do, not because they are weak, but because survival requires a kind of ruthless, relentless creativity, the constant renovation of the self around damage, and I had been doing it for so long it had become as automatic as breathing. I was halfway back down the mountain road when I heard the footsteps. He had followed me, and in the rain, in the dark, I heard a sound. Small, metallic, almost delicate. The sound of scissors opening. I want you to stay with me here. I want you to resist the urge to look away, because I live through what you are only listening to, and the least you can do is listen. The pain was extraordinary, not sharp. That is the lie that movies tell. It was cold, first, then heat. Then the road came up very fast, and the rain fell on my face from directly above, which meant I was lying down, which meant. And then the silence. The deep, enormous silence of Mizahara in the rain. The silence I had always loved that I do not know how long I lay there. Time, at the threshold between living and not, loses its architecture. It becomes something ambient, something you move through rather than measure. The rain fell. The forest breathed its cold breath against my skin. A dog barked somewhere in the town below. 2 short sounds. Then went quiet as if it had thought better of it. When I opened my eyes, the world was still the world. The same road, the same trees, the same orange smear of the Torii Gate visible in the distance, blurred by rain. But I was different. I knew before I touched my face. There is a kind of knowledge that lives in the body before it reaches the mind. The way you know, stepping into a room, that someone has recently been crying there, even if they've stopped, even if they've opened all the windows. The body knows. The body has always known. My hands found my face in the dark, and I understood. I lay there for a very long time. I was not crying. I had moved through grief the way a river moves through a landscape, not around it, but through it, carving new channels, becoming a different river by the time it reaches the other side. I was on the other side of something now. I could feel the distance. I was thinking about the town below, about the narrow streets I had walked my whole life, about the children who walked home alone after dark because this was a safe place. People said, a town where nothing happened, a town where you could leave your door unlocked. About the men who moved through the world as if it had been personally designed for their convenience. About the women who made themselves smaller and smaller, and then one day found they had made themselves so small they had disappeared entirely, and no one, not one person, had noticed. About questions. About what it means to ask a question and never receive an honest answer. When I stood up, Haruka, the woman who had loved silence and river sounds and autumn light, was gone. What stood up in her place had not yet found its name, but it had found its question. The first time I asked, I did not plan to. A man was walking home from the izakaya. I smelled the beer before I heard him, and I heard him before I saw him. The particular uneven rhythm of someone who believes, in this moment, that the night belongs to him. He was laughing at something private, his face loose and pleased with itself in the way of men who have never been asked to account for anything. He almost walked past me. Then he saw me. I was wearing the surgical mask. I had found it in my coat pocket, left over from an ordinary illness the week before. I had pulled it up instinctively. A small mercy, I thought. For both of us. He stopped, tilted his head. In the casual, proprietary way of drunk men, he reached out and pulled the mask down. And his face did not show horror. It showed contempt, a slight curl of the upper lip, a flicker of something that was not revulsion so much as dismissal, the expression of a man encountering something he has decided does not deserve a full emotional response. Something beneath consideration. I had seen that expression before. I had seen it my entire life. The question came out of me before I chose it. My own voice, the same voice my mother had called calming, like water, fell into the silence between us like a stone into a well. Am I beautiful? He laughed. The short, sharp laugh of a man who has decided this is not his problem. He turned his back on me. And something in me, something that had been wound tight for 30 years, through 100 small cruelties and one enormous one, came completely, irrevocably loose. I caught up to him before he reached the corner. I will not describe what happened next. What I will tell you is this. I did not set out to become a legend. I did not set out to become a warning that mothers whisper to children, a set of rules, a monster to be survived with the right answer, and a pocket full of candy. I simply asked a question that no one in my life had ever answered honestly. And when I found someone incapable of honesty, incapable of seeing me as something worth a true answer, I made sure they would not forget the question. Am I beautiful? Think about how you would answer. Think carefully about what your answer reveals about you. 30 years. I have walked these streets for 30 years. Mizahara has changed around me the way all things change, gradually, then suddenly. The stone roads paved over with asphalt. The old shop fronts replaced by convenience store glass. The children who used to play outside now walk with their eyes on small glowing screens, navigating a world that exists 6 inches from their faces. He died in 1998. A heart attack, the newspaper said, in the apartment of a woman who was not his wife. The article described him as a valued member of the community. I read it through the convenience store window in the rain. I felt the enormity of 30 years of waiting for something. Justice, explanation, closure, any of the words they give to the shape-shaped hole where resolution was supposed to go. And I felt that enormity register in my body as nothing. Or not nothing. Something so large it could only be experienced as silence. The deep, familiar silence of Mizahara in the rain. Tonight, I am standing at the corner near the old school. The boy with the red umbrella appears at the far end of the street. He is perhaps 10, the kind of child who has been kept indoors too long. He blinks in the dark like someone readjusting to a world with edges. He walks with a slight hurry, not quite running. The way children walk on dark roads when they are pretending, for their own benefit, not to be afraid. He sees me. He stops. I watch him process. I have watched this sequence 10,000 times. Confusion, then recognition. Then the moment the story his mother told him surfaces in his memory and slides across his face like a shadow moving across water. He should run. He does not run. He says, very carefully, as if handling something fragile, "You're the woman from the story." Not a question, a statement. I wait. My mom told me about you. A pause. Then, quietly, she said someone hurt you. She said that's why you're still here. I go completely still. In 30 years, through 10,000 encounters, through screaming and bargaining and candy thrown at my feet, and people who ran so fast they left their shoes behind. In 30 years, no one has ever said that. No one has ever named the wound instead of fearing the scar. The boy does something then that I will carry with me longer than anything else across these 30 years. He opens his umbrella wider, slowly, carefully. The way you move around something that might startle and holds it out toward me, just slightly, an offering. The simple, impossible gesture of someone who has decided that a suffering thing deserves shelter from the rain. I look at him for a very long time. I do not ask my question. For the first time in 30 years, I do not ask my question. I turn and walk back into the fog, and the mountain dark, and the cedar trees. Behind me, I hear him exhale. One long, shaking breath. And then, so quietly I might have imagined it. Good night. They will tell you I am a monster. They will give you the rules, the correct answers, the right amount of candy, the correct street to cross. They will frame me as a puzzle to be solved, a danger to be navigated, a story to be survived with the right technique. What they will not tell you is that I was a woman who loved silence, who loved the sound of a river over stones on a cold morning, and the way autumn light hit an old Tory gate, and the feeling of a book on a quiet afternoon, and all the ordinary, unspectacular textures of a life that asked very little and gave very simply. I did not ask to become this. I asked to be seen. Am I beautiful? I have asked that question 438 times now. Only one person, a boy with a red umbrella who will grow up and forget this night, and then, one day in his 40s, remember it suddenly for no reason at all. Only one person ever heard the real question underneath the question. The question I have been asking since the night I lay in the rain on the mountain road. Am I still worth seeing? After everything that was done to me, after everything I have done, is there anything in me that deserves to be looked at with something other than fear? I do not know the answer. I am not sure anyone does. But somewhere in your city, wherever you are watching this, in whatever country, in whatever room you have made safe for yourself tonight, somewhere near you, in the fog, at the edge of where the light runs out, a woman is standing very still. She has been waiting a very long time. And she has a question. Am I beautiful? Take your time. Think about what your answer says about you. Good night.